Christine, thanks for being with us. Can you tell us a bit about the kinds of challenges that Indigenous nurses are facing during this pandemic?
Hi, thanks so much for having me today. I think that Indigenous nurses, like other nurses, are struggling with the pandemic in many ways. There's statistics out that are showing mental health challenges. There's nursing shortages. There's lots of overtime. There's things like whether or not they have the right PPE. Are they in a safe environment? Are their colleagues safe? Are their families safe when they come back home to them? I think some of the issues potentially affecting Indigenous communities too is lack of resources potentially and not having the resources they need. I know we're looking at supporting some work around translating some documents and resources in languages for different First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities to work to help around promoting immunization. I think that's been a bit of a struggle too in some of the communities. Some communities have done really well, but others are still struggling to get people immunized. So I think those are probably some of the challenges that are facing not only Indigenous nurses, but all nurses across the country.
Are there some unique challenges too for Indigenous nurses and for Indigenous communities?
Because we support nurses through education and research, and we work closely with the Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association and the Canadian Nurses Association. I don't have firsthand information from those nurses, although, we do support them. We support their education and helping them advance their education. But I think what I've heard from my colleagues is some of those things that I've mentioned about lack of resources, access to care, potentially lack of immunization resources. Those kinds of things I think have been challenging, but I also think that nurses are often the prime first responder. The first point of contact for Indigenous communities is often the nurse. And so that I think is challenging in itself, but now during a pandemic, I can't even imagine how much more challenging that could be with them being isolated and being the only one there for people to rely on.
How is the foundation supporting them?
Well, we've been very committed to Indigenous health since 2009. We've made it a priority. As I said earlier, we're a foundation that supports nursing education and research, but we've made a particular commitment to Indigenous nurses. We've been able to support 170 Indigenous nurses to date to either become a nurse or to do graduate work at a master's and PhD level. So we're thrilled that we've been able to provide that support. And I think that what we've come to realize is that these nurses that we're supporting often go back to their communities. They feel a very, very strong bond to the communities they've come from. And so once they finish their education, they go back to try and improve the health of those particular communities. Just last year, we were able to provide over $50,000 in educational support to these nurses. And as I said, to date, 170, but over $600,000. So we're really, really pleased that we've been able to hopefully provide some of the support that these communities need.
Christine, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time for us here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks so much for giving us the opportunity.